Control is lost to us by Purple Painted Insomniac on AU3. Episode 2, Chapter 2. Shouta led Hitoshi into the precinct and sent him over to Sansa's office. Go sit and annoy the hell out of Sansa for a while. Do not go sneaking around or I will let Nieko kick your ass over this station and record it to show to your friends. Shouta threatened before walking away with Naomasa towards the interrogation room. Like the knockoff polygram could kick my ass. Please, Eric could have him tied up and forced to play tea parties without so much as breaking a sweat. And Razor thinks he's gonna kick my ass? Hitoshi snarls, flopping onto his back onto the couch in the office. Sansa snorted softly, the bell he wore in place of his tie jingling softly with the movement. You know, they act like that because they care about you, right? The only person they're softer for is possibly Eri herself, and even the margin between the two of you is so narrow. It's not dislinkable with the naked eye. Listen to your grumpy dads, and do as you're told for once in your life, Hito. Sansa chirped, his yellow eyes now fully focused on the young man, and as close to a nephew as he was ever gonna get. I know, but still, this wackadoodle is claiming to be my damn sister. I've never had a sister. My sperm and egg donors never mentioned another kid when I was with them. Before they threw me away. Maybe she made fun of me, found out who I was, and is using my quirk similarities to try and get the case thrown out? Hitoshi sat violently, all of a sudden, the thought completely taking root, as he slurged his feet. Kit, sit your ass down. Or, never mind. Racer Renato will kick your ass, and we both know you don't have it in your hurt to fluff a bit of a fuss on my head. Sansa grinned at him, kneeling like a cat, teeth on display, causing Hitoshi to scowl at him like a purulent child. Damn stupid feline mutation. Who could hit a damn cat? Even a biological human smart ass one. Hitoshi grumbled, under his breath, causing Sansa to snort again, his eyes rolling softly, smile morphing into something softer and fond. Yeah, keep pouting your little furball. Why don't you grab us some tart that the chief calls coffee? If you stray any further than that break room, I will kick you over this police precinct and make you clean up the resulting mess. Got it? Hitoshi rolled his eyes, but stood with purpose, nodding his head once. Words, Hito. I need you to promise me you won't go looking for trouble if she is looking to get the case thrown out. You intercepting yourself after you have been formally benched will not help matters. You get that, right? He probed, causing the younger man to freeze in place before looking over his shoulder and smiling a little lopsided. I know, San. And that's what got me so fucking annoyed about all of this from every angle I can see. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. Hitoshi drew his eyes down as he scuffed the toe of his well-worn shoes, absorbing boots, against the cheap top files as he left the office for what was supposed to be passing for coffee in the building. Several officers watched him with what Hitoshi knew was self, but Aizawa had trained him from his first month in UA, and his situational awareness had been hammered into him and left him as paranoid as the man himself. It was a small price to pay, considering the heroes who graduated from the man's class had the highest survival and success rate in the areas of heroics. Did you hear? The puppeteer villain Marinette is claiming to be his sister. His rankings will take a hit, even if they find it isn't true. To even be suspected of being linked to a villain is enough to have the commission investigate. Adding into the fact that he has a mentality quirk that allows him to control people just like her, he's not going to have a license for long. Someone, an officer no less, hissed in whispered tones as he walked by. Hitoshi could feel his teeth grinding together. He trusted nearly every cop in that room at some point, at his back, whether he had been serving when he was still a hero in training or when they were still phased out in their own training academies. Hitoshi turned purple-shadowed eyes out on the room and several grouped together around the same coffee machine he had been making a beeline for, winding their eyes before looking away, guilt making them stand tense as he approached his usual nearly ghost-like footsteps, loud and chomping, with the anger he could feel simmering in his body. His shoulders, though the little group nodded gentle, and made Santa's coffee just how he liked it. More coffee than cream and a single spoonful of sugar. He then made his own, as black as his mood was turning and the bags under his eyes. "Would any of you like a fresh cup?" he asked, like he has 100 of times since he graduated. He can tell you exactly how each of these officers take their coffee without batting an eye. He's done it for them so many times before. But this time, they all paled at the questions, eyes nervously fitting to each other, wondering which one of them will dare still trust him enough to answer his question. Before any of them could work up the courage, he scoffs and shakes his head, eyes narrowed, as something inside of his chest splinters as a cold feeling washes over him. "Ah, I see. 3 years I've been a licensed hero, and in that time, I've had each of your backs worked alongside you, put myself in the muckiest pits of the underground, my safety and my life on the line. And one wrath of a woman with a quirk slightly resembling my own claims she shares blood with me, and now I'm not trusted? Now I'm a villain?" Hitoshi spat out the final question, and several conversations that hadn't stopped when people noticed him screeching to a halt, the tension in the room thickening as all their glances fell on Hitoshi, and the 4 officers stood around him as he finished his appointed task. That's... One of them started, but Hitoshi scoffed, batting away the threat that he could have pulled taut if he had so been inclined. But he wouldn't, because he would never be what everyone always had told him he would be. He would never do the very thing that they were all waiting and had bated breaths for him to do. "Save it, Sunza. I know what you all think of me now, and nothing you could say will change that knowledge now." Hitoshi spat at the silver-haired woman, her black eyes widening as he picked up the coffees and started walking away. "But don't worry. I've been benched efficiently, immediately, by Naomasa and Eraser. You won't have to worry about little villainous old me." He jabbed a sneering smile aimed at the woman he had considered a friend, someone he had trusted with his insecurities when they were both standing out their prospective paths at the same time. Green rookies, the pair of them. Now his views of her was forever clouded by her hesitance to answer him. "Enough, Siren. Get your ass back in Sansa's office now." His pops sounded livid. Hitoshi simply nodded, holding the 2 mugs by the handles in one hand as he gave the man, one of his father's for all he cared, a mocking salute, and removed himself from the tense situation he had helped bring about via the chip on his shoulder, that achieving his dream clearly hadn't cured him of. "Kid." Aizawa started, but Hitoshi stormed past him, kicking Sansa's door shut behind him in the man's face. Sansa raised a brow as Hitoshi put down the coffee with a little more force than it was probably warranted. Aizawa opened the door and followed him in anyways, sighing softly. "Kid, they're idiots, and Nano is laying into them. We all know you aren't what people thought you would be. That's just... They're worried, and letting their emotions run around unchecked." Aizawa tried to soothe, but Hitoshi snorted, finally whirling around to the man, and his facade cracked, and he grimaced as he felt something sharp break away inside of him. "Really, Dad? They know in their hearts I'd never hurt them? Then tell me why. Fucking tell me why none of them would fucking answer me when I talked. This is my childhood all over again. This..." Hitoshi violently waved at his hero costume as he clung it to his body. He worked and trained his ass off for. All of this, every single scrap I worked for, every drop of blood, sweat, and tears I put in being your student, to being a hero, hopeful to get my license, is wasted if the people I've sought beside and put my life on the line for don't trust me after one fucking dump in the road. Hitoshi was yelling now, hot angry tears brimming in his eyes. Tsukauchi came bursting into the room, face red with anger, jaw taut, but he softened at the sight of Hitoshi and shook his head. Son, come here. No one will have the brass once to say jack shit about any of this again. Or so help me God, I'll get Izuku to put fear of Nezu into them. Tsukauchi pulled Hitoshi onto the sofa and hugged him inside. Your dad and I will get to the bottom of this bullshit, and no one will dare to take your license, or so help me I will end up in Tartarus myself. Tsukauchi gritted out, ruffling gentle fingers through his, now, grown son's hair. Pops, I appreciate the settlement, but threats like that aren't going to help anyone's fucking point. And for them to be swayed so easily, they already have to be harboring some kind of bias against mental quirks. They could allow people like me to have a license. They could make the heroics test less biased to flashy quirks, but none of that is going to change an integrated social, indistinguishable decades in the making. It isn't just illogical. Hitoshi grunted, pulling away from the hug, as Sansa sorted. So, you sure you didn't have one night stand with a purple-haired woman in your youth? Because, there's no way the love of logic is learned behavior trait. That has to be fucking genetics. Sansa laughed as both Shouta and Hitoshi glared at him reproachfully. He didn't, Sansa. I actually did a DNA test. Not even a match to say that they're long brothers or cousins. I was kind of disappointed, to be honest. Would have made adopting him way back so much easier. Tsukauchi chuckled as both Shouta and Hitoshi gave him twin looks of outrage. That right there, is why I actually fucking tested your DNA, idiots. Tsukauchi laughed at the two of them, before getting up and guiding them both out. Get home safely, you three, and give Eri a hug for me. And tell her Uncle San will be around on Saturdays, or for our weekly tea and cookies. Sansa waved at them off, and the three men walked together through the precinct. Through the bowl of pin of officers, all fell into silence, many of them averting their gazes. Sunasa bravely stepped into their path. Siren. She started, but Hitoshi shook her head and glared softly at her. Save it, Sansa. You know me. I've used my quirk countless of times to help you through panic attacks, back in the early days. I never once did anything malice to you, and I could have. You showed your hand tonight. You don't really trust me. And I have always trusted you with my life in the field and everything off of it. Hitoshi murmured, hurt tingling into his words. He looked down at her, as hurt briefly crossed her face. There had been something brewing between them that was moving past friendship, but now Hitoshi would never be able to ignore the implications of this night. Siren, I wasn't... It's just... She sighed before looking down at the floor. I care about you, and I'm worried. Just stay safe, okay? She breathed, hurt evident in her voice, as though she didn't even look at her, and continued on his way out of the precinct. Naomasa and Shouta both looked at each other worriedly. Their son had been smitten with a young officer and even planned on asking her out on a date. Her lack of unwavering support when Hitoshi needed it was surely going to hit him hard. Come on, Tosh. You're sleeping in your own room tonight. Movies, takeout, and tea parties with your 9-year-old sister are just what the healing hero ordered. Naomasa grimaced as his son threw a combat plant leg over his black motorcycle he rode everywhere, parked next to his and showed his far more practical car. Pops, I just really want to head back to the apartment, eat whatever Izu left on me for breakfast, and fall asleep on the couch while he is obnoxiously loud getting ready for a back-to-back shift because apparently living up to the mantle of foremost symbol of peace is a full-time job with an extra side of pressure. Hitoshi groaned, popping his back loudly as he sat outstride his bike, looking over at both his parents. But Toshi, your sister misses you. Stop by for the morning, take a nap, spend some time with her, and go home to eat whatever Izuku has no doubted burned to within an inch of death for lunch, because you're too soft on him to tell him his cook's worse than your pops. Shouta smiles lazily his hand coming up to mask a yawn. Hey, don't insult my cooking show. I'd really rather you weren't riding around on that death trap when you just did a full night shift with no sleep. Naomasa glared at him, and Hitoshi sighed, shaking his head, putting on purple and green helmet Izuku had custom made for him by Hatsume Inks. Its user interface and comm link attached to the hero database, so even if on the clock, if something were to happen, Hitoshi could go wherever his friends and family needed him most. If you want me to come back home for the day, I ride the bike and you don't gripe about it. I'm okay to drive. If I wasn't, Izuku and his merely band of idiots would have my life for driving around on this so-called death trap. A death trap I need to remind you that Mir tricked out over an abundance of safety features. I'm pretty safer on this death trap than either of you are in that car. Hitoshi growls, tapping the sync button for the user interface, and half the visor lit up with maps currently showing active incidents over the whole of Masutafu. He scrolled through, looking to see if Izuku was active currently. He groaned as he saw his idiot's name light up at the big fight near the shopping center. Double tapping, he linked into the private channel. Izu, I swear to Kami, you just did a fucking night raid, and you're up and out duking it on some B-grade villain? Can't you leave the small fish to atone for once and rest? Hitoshi let loose, an intellectual snort crackling across the line, followed by a pained groan. Toshi, as much as hearing your voice in my ear makes me smile, I kind of need to concentrate. Is this something that really can't wait? Izuku grunted, the faint crackling of lightning followed by the tail sign of whooshing air. Could have been him activating float, could have been his Air Force move, but Hitoshi didn't have the time to speculate. Marinette is claiming to be my sister. I've been benched. The parental units have mob size and are making me crash at their place tonight. Probably to keep me out of trouble. You know how much my dad hates it when problem children go off half-cooked? Hitoshi gave a rueful grin. He and Izuku were both the only official problem children, but only one of them ever went off-cooked, and it wasn't himself. Hey, I resent that jab. Marinette is pulling that card. Huh. Makes sense, your quirks are certainly similar enough for it to be plausible. I didn't get a good enough look at her to be sure if there was any resemblance to support her claims, though. Do as you are told, Toshi. Stay as far away from this one until your dads can prove she's spouting bullshit, okay? Izuku grunted again, followed by a sickening thug and a shaky breath. Hitoshi needed to wrap this up. He was distracting his best friend, and that could be dangerous. Here was me hoping you'd go off half-cooked and be the enabler we all know you are. Okay, I'll stay out of it for now. Be careful, Izuku. If you come back with cracked ribs again, I will put you under my quirk and make you go see Recovery Girl. Hitoshi threatened, eyes narrowing, like he had the bane of his life directed in front of him. I swear, Hito, I can feel that glare from here. Go, give Eri a hug for me. Stay out of trouble, and I see you at home. With that, the comm lines went dead, and Hitoshi flipped his visor, looking at his dads, who both had a single eyebrow raised. And you had your money on him and Suna actually making it go up whatever tension was building between them? No, you're more of an idiot than Asashi. Did you hear how soft he got when he threatened him with quirk to make him go to Recovery Girl and get fixed up? Hitoshi won't even do that to me when you beg him to. I think your boy is leaning more towards a certain problem child these days. Shouta smirked as Hitoshi narrowed his eyes in annoyance, but neither of the older men missed the telltale blush dusting over his nose and cheekbones. Shut it. Now isn't the time to delve into the disaster that is my life. Let's go on to the damn road. I have a certain red-eyed demon girl to hug, like my life depended on it. Or so help me my next sparring match will Izuku, I'll be eating mad repeatedly for my sins. Hitoshi gripped, before downing the visor again and tapping the same button, disconnecting from the network. With that, Hitoshi kicked the bike into gear and sped off, giving his parents nothing more to comment on. Hisashi would still be at the house with Eri, and Hitoshi had his own key. He didn't need to wait for them, and if he got to run from the truth a little longer, all the better for him. An alert flashed up on the user interface, scrolling along the bottom where it was noticeable but wouldn't obscure his view of the road. Number 1, Hero Deku, and Number 2, Hero Adabomb, worked together once again to take down another Rampage villain. Hitoshi snorted. Of course the Wonder Duo had been together. Hitoshi was forever grateful that Izuku was forever forgiving type. Bakugo hadn't been the only person to be a jerk to him. Hitoshi had said some not-so-great things to him after the sports festival. Finally, Hitoshi pulled up into the drive of his parents' home. He got off his bike just in time for Eri to come dashing out of the house and practically plowing into his side. Hey Hito, did you see the news? Deku-chan and Adam-san took down a villain. Uncle Sashi let me watch the news coverage, and they look so freaking cool. But Deku-chan looked like he was talking to someone. People think he was calling for backup, but not long after, he took down the villain with an amazing Air Force gift. Eri babbed away as Hitoshi pulled the helmet off. He was talking to me, Eri Bug. I was telling him off for going off patrol after pulling a night raid with me and Dad. If I'd known he was with Autumn Bomb, I wouldn't have been so worried about him getting hurt. Hitoshi said softly, before picking up his little sister and pulling her into a hug. You really care about Deku-chan a lot, don't you, Hito? Eri asked, red eyes sparkling, the horn on her head, longer than the last time he'd seen her. Pop must have been making her and Dad take a break in her quirk training again. Sure, Bug. Izuku's been my best friend since I joined the hero course. You know that better than most people. He was the first one to find out that Dad and Pops were adopting the two of us. Eri shook her head and smiled up at him. No, I mean really, really care about him. Like how Pops and Dad care about each other? Eri trailed off, noticing the slight frown on Hitoshi's face. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you, Hito. Eri mused, scuffing the toe of your shoe against the pavement. You didn't upset me, Eri. I just never realized I was that obvious about it. Hitoshi gave a slight shrug before ruffling her hair. You know, Pops thinks he likes you back, with the way he talks about how the stupid expensive helmet is exactly the shade of both your eyes. He nods towards the helmet that he held under one arm as Hitoshi hummed softly. Nah, Izuku just knows I like the colors of the Aura Borealis, and had Mei paint the helmet to look like that. Hitoshi said softly as he looked down at the offended item, his cheeks warming slightly. Yeah, Purple, and Mineta wasn't a sexual harassment suit waiting to happen. I'll be going now. There will be someone here to watch over my favorite narwhal. I already called your dads to let them know that you made it here in one piece. Next time we both have a day off, I need to pick your brain. I'm due for an upgrade on my own bike, and I want to know what Mei has installed on yours. Hisashi grinned, nudging Hitoshi softly to get him out of whatever funk he was staring into a spiral into. Sure, Uncle Sashi. Just text me when you have your next day off and we can arrange something. Thanks for looking after Bug. We'll see you Sunday for dinner. Hitoshi called as a blond man swung a leg over his own bright yellow bike and jammed a navy and red helmet onto his own head. Flipping the visor up, Hisashi winked at the two of them. I wouldn't miss it for the world. You kids be safe and behave for your dads and pops. Hisashi said it playfully enough, but the hard gaze that landed on him told Hitoshi exactly who that had been directed at. Without another word, Hitoshi led Eri back inside, as Hisashi left them. Okay, I hate that happened to Shinsou. Obviously, that is horrible. We knew it was coming. I did not think he would have a thing for one of the police officers, but okay. Alright. But he also has a thing for Izuku. I'm rooting for the Shindeku, so know where my allies lie. Know where I'm an ally for. And also Shindeku's tagged here, so definitely one is gonna get canon. The other one, no. She hit me the wrong way. I'm sorry. You behave like that? You don't deserve Hitoshi. You lost your Hitoshi privileges. Yep, he officially, you lost your Hitoshi dateable privileges. He's no longer a dateable for you. Yeah, you lost that privilege. I like saying you lost that privilege. Like, I almost lost my privilege to CapCut, because CapCut is banned in America. And that's the editing software that I use on a regular basis. right? I have the subscription for this shit. Mainly because I want the captions and I like to mess around with editing and stuff like that. And it has some voice things that I'm probably going to be using for future reference and stuff like that. Also, I feel like it runs a lot smoother. Anyways. Also, I got it on sale. I got it on a big sale. Anyways, I lost the privilege of CapCut. I was so sad. I was like, what do you mean? I paid. I paid. Am I going to get a refund? No. Yes. Maybe. But no. I just, I got my CapCut to work again. Good, because I tried out like 5 different other editing softwares, and that shit was... I had 5 different breakdowns. I really hate change, so I hated to have to change my editing software. I absolutely fucking hate change, right? It is absolutely fucking annoying. Right? I think when the Discord logo changed the first time, I was really upset. Obviously, I'm not upset anymore. I grow into it, but like, it's really rough in the beginning because I'm really like, I get really pissy. I get really, not anxious, but I get really like fucking fussy. There's no other way I could explain it other than fussy. Like, the small things annoy me. Like, for example, with when I was trying out those 5 different editing apps, right? Any small little inconvenience was all of a sudden the biggest fucking inconvenience in my whole world, right? Like, for example, instead of tapping and it puts you into that slot, you had to slide over the cursor, and it annoyed the fucking shits out of me so much. I had to take a break from editing because I was so fucking frustrated. And I really hated the mic quality of the other software apps and how they were doing that to my mic, and how none of their supposed better quality, their settings to make a mic better quality was working, and it would make it worse. So yeah. Anyways, I liked the slight Shindeku we got here. This was all super cute. I like the airy content we're getting. I am a big fan. Next chapter is chapter 3. Hito gives in, and they were roommates. That was not tagged. That should be tagged. And they were roommates. I love a good roommates AU. So they're definitely besties. I think we're getting, what I'm feeling is, and they were roommates, idiots to lovers, everyone knows but them, ships. Type of ships, yeah. Friends to lovers, and they were roommates. Everyone knows but them, idiots to lovers squared. Alright, or just idiots to lovers, yeah. What was idiots to lovers squared? Oh, when everyone but them know? No, that's just idiots to lovers regular. Like when... Oh, fuck, I remember that I classified idiots to lovers squared as something else. Obviously, that's not like a widely known stuff, but just idiots to lovers. The summary for chapter 3 is Hito gives in and spends time at home only for everything to hit the fan and for him to be forced with a decision he never wanted to make, but would if it meant saving innocent people. What? Okay. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take my meds. Wait, what? No, take your meds. Let's start over. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord, merch, and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.